Okay, so this is the video tutorial on how to graph using Microsoft Excel. So let's begin. Open up Microsoft Excel. Step 1 complete. Just for now, you can have a blank Excel workbook. And so here we go. The first thing you need to do is to put the data in for your class. If you have the data from Edmodo that I downloaded and posted for you, you can just open that. Otherwise, you need to copy the data from your class from either the JPEG file or your notes from class or whatever. So start off by putting your variables that you want to graph into the spreadsheet. So for you guys, that's going to be the mass of each rocket in your class and the maximum net force of each rocket in your class. For this tutorial, I'm not going to use that data. I'm going to make up different data. So I'm going to graph the relationship between money and problems. So typically you want the left column that you're going to use to be the x-axis or your independent variable. So for you guys, that's mass. For me, that's money. The second column you want to be your dependent variable or your y-axis. So for you guys, that's maximum net force. For me, that's problems. So you're looking at, is there a relationship between maximum net force and mass? I'm looking at, is there a relationship between problems and money? So you'll just copy over the data for your class. I'm going to make up some data right now. $10, $20, $30, $40, $50. And problems, let's say it's 2, 5, 15, 32, 56. Okay, and there we go. So to make the graph itself, you want to highlight the data that you want graphed. So just click and drag to highlight those numbers. And then you can create a chart one of two ways. For me, I have a button that says charts that I can click and it'll bring up different types of charts. Otherwise, you can click insert chart. And you guys want to use just a plain scatter plot. We don't want it to connect the dots with a line. We don't want a pie or column. These are great for certain things, but not for this. So instead, we just want a scatter plot that's just a blank scatter, just a marked scatter with no curves, no lines. And as you can see, it'll insert all of that data into the graph for me, which is very lovely. I only have one set of data, so I don't need a legend. I'm just going to delete that. And you can see that there are different quick layouts for my Excel. So I can have a title, I can have axes and a legend, but we're going to do it all ourselves. So my graph looks nice. You can see my data points, each blue dot. The downside is that it's missing a lot of the things that a good science graph should have, which is a title, labeled axes, and a trend line. So let's fix those things. So I'm going to start by adding a title. Now to do that, you can go into chart layout, or this might be in your format or in your chart menu, depending on what version of Excel you have. But I'm going to format my chart title and say that I want a title above the chart. So there it is. I can double click that to change the title. So my title is Money versus Problems. Additionally, I can add in axes titles. So let's add one for the horizontal axis, title below. That's my x-axis, which is money, and I'm going to include a unit, which is dollars. Add another vertical axis. So that's for my y-axis, and this one is problems. And my unit for this is total number of problems. And so far, so good. So I have money versus problems. And I have units for my axes. The last thing that I need to do is insert a trend line. Now, that is not, again, that is not having a curve that connects all of the dots. For example, if I change one of these numbers so I have an outlier, I don't want this weird wonky, super curvy curve. That's not useful to me because that doesn't describe a pattern, that describes the actual numbers, which we know aren't perfect. So instead what I want to do is to insert a trend line. So to do that, I'm going to go back to my chart layout and say trend line, and there are different types of trends you can put in. So I could have a linear one. That straight line does a pretty good job of showing us the relationship, but it's not great. This one's up, these are too low. What about an exponential? Okay, that's better, but not perfect. What about linear? Forecast. Okay, that's good, not great. What are some other options? Well, let's try a power option. Okay, that's getting there. How about polynomial? Ooh, that's real good. So this is clearly the best fit trend line for me. So that's what I'm going to use in my overall graph. And you can tell the difference because if I have one outlier, like let's say that this number goes up to 77, or that's a little too extreme, or like say 32. My trend line doesn't just connect the dots, it still describes the overall pattern. Okay, so that's the importance of the difference between a trend line versus a chart that just connects all the dots with one smooth curve. Okay, so if you wanted to put this into your answer sheet, then you can just select the whole chart. You can just copy that, open up your word processor, whatever that is, and you can just paste your chart right in there. And then type your analysis questions below. And that's a good start for you guys. So if you have questions, you know where to find me on Edmodo. Otherwise, good luck. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Make positive choices and enjoy. Bye.